Last night we got ourselves the motherload of Overwatch 2 news, via Blizzard's own behind the scenes of Overwatch 2 presentation on the opening night of BlizzCon. What you're seeing on screen now in front of you is a stitched together collection of gameplay clips scattered throughout the 45-minute long presentation. I'll admit I was a little surprised how much Blizzard was willing to show off last night. On one hand, I did say in my last video that Blizzard really needed to make an effort to convince people that Overwatch 2 was going to be more than just a glorified expansion. And dear lord, they absolutely seemed aware of that. I went into BlizzCon with reasonably low expectations. While I of course had a list of Overwatch 2 related things I'd love to hear them announce, I was skeptical that the majority of them would actually be discussed at BlizzCon, and I was actually kind of wrong, but in a good way. This isn't going to be a complete comprehensive list of everything revealed at BlizzCon yesterday, but just what I would consider to be the highlights, the most important tidbits of information presented. Firstly, and I'm just outlining this first and foremost because of the bragging rights it entails, since I correctly predicted this, whereas a lot of other Overwatch content creators and websites didn't for the most part, as far as I could tell. I am of course talking about the idea of a hero leveling system that indicates a player's experience with each respective hero. Whether this is only tied to the co-op PvE game modes, or whether it also ties into the PvP side is unknown, but it is very nice to have a system in place that can easily and quickly provide players information about how much experience a teammate of theirs has with the hero they're playing as, without having to dive into a separate menu. So yeah, I win bragging rights as far as that UI change goes. On a similar note, we also got confirmation of another more subtle thing I correctly predicted, and that is for the PvE campaign mode. There will be extensive, unique voice lines, different variations of all cutscenes, and different dialogue exchanges between characters, to allow for any combination of 4 heroes the player decides to play as during the campaign. No matter who you and your friends want to play as, the cinematic cutscenes will react in turn, due to the new internal RPG-like emphasis on branching choices that has been built into the experience. But moving back to examine some of the bigger nuggets of information we got, let's talk about the dual stars of attention, the new story campaign mode, and the new separate hero missions mode. We got ourselves a basic outline of the story premise, set in the current day, years after the end of the first Omnic War, and with the subsequent collapse and disbandment of Overwatch as an organization. A second Omnic War has broken out, seeing the rampant destruction and potential for countless innocent lives to be lost, as both sides resume the seemingly endless conflict. Winston has no choice but to send out the call once more, and once again bring together a team of heroes to put an end to the violence, and strive to build a better world together, no matter what the cost. And no, that's not actually the full synopsis, I was just crafting my own that just dripped with excessive dramatization to the point that it sounds simultaneously poetic, hopeful, and somewhat condescending, aka the Blizzard formula for Overwatch storytelling. As I mentioned earlier, the campaign will feature intro and outro cinematics for every level, similar I would imagine to what we've already seen in the Overwatch Archives missions. The PvE campaign levels are described as being far larger than the maps we're used to seeing in Overwatch 1, with many developers roughly estimating these maps are about 2 to 3 times the size of any one Overwatch 1 map. In addition to the new heroes, most of the Overwatch 1 maps will be getting significant expansions for the new Hero Missions mode. In the Hero Missions mode, players will be returning to many if not all of the existing Overwatch 1 PvP maps, but this time the maps have been slightly reworked to incorporate PvE. One example highlighted was King's Row, with the additional space based off the limited preview we got appearing to be 1/3 the size of a normal payload map, basically one more additional checkpoint. Off the top of your head, that may not sound like a lot of new content, but when you take that and assume all the other quick play and competitive maps are getting similar sized expansions for their PvE hero mission variants, that's quite a bit to develop, even with a moderately large sized team working full-time if not overtime to achieve that. The Overwatch team are on record as saying that they plan to add literally hundreds of hero missions to the game, by adding day, evening, and nighttime variants to existing maps, implementing a slew of mission objective types that incentivize players to work together in different ways, and adding weather conditions like blizzards, sandstorms, thunderstorm, etc. While I think a lot of people are naturally hyped for Overwatch 2's story campaign, I personally see a lot of potential in the hero mission system, as I think that far more than the story campaign will incentivize people to continue coming back week in and week out, as it will be incredibly easy for Blizzard to continue creating new mission types and special challenges long after the game fully releases. Moving on, another interesting detail, or lack thereof, more specifically, is the lack of a proper release date or even a release window. Blizzard has yet to comment to any concrete date. However, that said, I do believe, based on the state of the gameplay and off the developer's own comments, that we can make some reasonable guesses in this regard. The gameplay we saw presented at BlizzCon this year looked fairly complete. There were still a few areas where you could tell certain assets or certain parts of the map were still being actively worked on, but it was very clear that the game is much farther in development than most people would think. Far enough that I would safely estimate we're probably going to see some kind of playable demo or alpha test, stress test, something, possibly as soon as next BlizzCon. I would be highly surprised if another full year went by without us hearing something about Overwatch 2. I think Blizzard is very, very aware that they are on a timetable and people will not wait endlessly for Overwatch 2 to come out. And the longer they wait, the more alternate games that people have access to and may swap to instead. I don't have any actual evidence to support this other than just my own conclusions based on what I saw. I would be very surprised if we did not get Overwatch 2 by the end of spring 2022. I'm going to bet, and I'm just putting this out there, we're going to get the game in either March, April, or May 2022. I think releasing this game, or at the very least, just an open beta of it in time for the 6th anniversary of Overwatch 1 would be a good way of renewing faith in the franchise and bringing people who had left Overwatch back into the fold. And if we do see at least a beta test in March or April, I wouldn't be surprised if the full game released over the summer. I don't think we're looking at a winter 2022 release. I honestly don't believe Blizzard is going to wait that long, but again, we're just going to have to wait and see how development continues. I am hopeful that now that the initial revelations today have been released, Blizzard is going to be a little bit more transparent about their process than they have been up until this point. When we last saw the game in 2019, the gameplay was still a little rough, with a lot of the new mechanics like the character skill tree system being far less fleshed out, and its UI being entirely reworked between 2019 and now. We also saw that, another thing I accurately predicted, we are getting a new dynamic weather system in Overwatch 2. Though whether this is just limited to the co-op PvE portion of the game, or whether this extends to the PvP side as well, currently remains unclear. The level designer for Overwatch 2 spent a great deal of time giving us a preview of some of the new maps and locations we'll be getting for both PvE and PvP. These include a New York City location, which is probably one of my favorites due to its art style and its incredible attention to detail. We also saw gameplay and concept art for a map set in India and Sweden, as well as more footage of the previously confirmed map set in Toronto, Canada. Personally, as someone who aspires to eventually move to Quebec, I am mightily disappointed that Montreal has not yet been represented in the Overwatch 2 map pool, though I will reserve judgment for now, because there's still quite a bit of time before the game's release for Blizzard to hopefully correct their mistake and give Montreal the much-needed representation it deserves. There's other stuff I've yet to dissect, but this is not an all-encompassing summary of the Overwatch 2 presentation. I now look forward to providing more coverage in the days, weeks, and hopefully months to come as we continue to get more information. But for now, that's where I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, do consider subscribing and clicking the bell to opt into getting notifications so you can be among the first to know when I upload a new video. My goal is to cross over 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If I do cross that number, I've already pledged to donate $100 to the Team Trees Initiative, a nonprofit that specializes in replanting trees in deforested areas, either as a result of man-made efforts or by nature-caused destruction, and thus reducing our carbon footprint. Let me know what you think of the Overwatch 2 gameplay, and if you saw the presentation, what was your takeaway from it? I'll be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Instead of cutting to the usual outro card, because I paid to get permanent use of this song in my outro card, and because I prefer my videos make it to the 10-minute mark as a matter of principle, enjoy another 2 minutes of Overwatch 2 gameplay while listening to my channel's main, mostly underutilized but still awesome theme song. Cheers, and I'll see you all in the next video. This is Warrior Dan signing out. Stay awesome, everybody. Stay safe, and peace out.
Here